You're 16, dragging a couch out to the curb behind a borrowed pickup, saving your neighbor about $150. 2 decades later, you're running a junk removal company that grosses about $7 million a year. Between those two moments sits a $10.4 billion industry, and almost nobody plans to enter it. They fall into it. A truck, a trailer, a phone number scrawled on a sign. The barrier to entry is whatever you can borrow on a Saturday. The spread between the bottom and the top is enormous. This is every level of junk removal in America, and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The kid with a pickup. You're 16 and the neighbor's dryer has sat at the end of the driveway for a week. You borrow a pickup, throw a pair of work gloves on the seat, and tell him you'll make it disappear for $20. He hands you $40 and tells the guy next door. You eyeball the dryer and call it light. It isn't. It pins your fingers against the tailgate, and you learn to lift with your legs before you learn anything else. You strap it down with ratchet straps, drive to the transfer station, and pay the gate fee out of the cash in your pocket. The man at the scale calls it a tipping fee. You call it the cost of getting paid. White goods, that's what they call old appliances. And an old steel water heater is worth something at the scrapyard, not the dump. You pull the copper out of a dead motor and check the iScrap app on the drive over. Copper's running about $3.50 a pound. The steel pays in pennies. The copper pays in dollars. You start checking the curbs on your own street. A guy named Kirk McKinney started exactly here, at the dump, as a teenager, in Norwood, Massachusetts. His first sale was $50 for a radio. He and his brother turned that into a business they called Junk Teens, and in 2025 it brought in $3.04 million. You don't know that yet. You know the mattress on the curb, the thunk of a couch dropping into a truck bed, the rust dust on your forearms. You spot the item, you ask, you wrestle it onto the bed, you strap it, you drive, you dump. It's gone, you're paid. Then the truck bed is empty again and there's another driveway down the block with something heavy at the end of it. A dead washer, a couch nobody wants. The first time someone refers you to a stranger, the work stops being a favor and becomes a job. You haven't filled out a single tax form. You just learned that people will pay you to make junk disappear, and that's level 2. Level 2. The hauler. You're 18, riding the route truck for a company that pays $17.52 an hour, about $36,442 a year per ZipRecruiter. The lifting is the job. You carry a cast iron tub up a basement stairwell on moving straps. The safe single-person lift is 51 pounds, and this is nothing close. You learn to pack the truck like Tetris. Flat things flat, heavy things low, nothing that shifts on the highway. You pack it loose on your first run. It costs you a second trip to the dump, and the route runs an hour behind. You sort as you load. White goods in one pile, construction debris in another, anything a charity will take set aside for the donation run to Goodwill. The refrigerator can't just go in the truck. Section 608 of the Clean Air Act has required the refrigerant be pulled first since 1993. You tag it, you photograph the load, you collect payment on a tablet, you move to the next stop. The customer pays about $150 for the couch. You make $17.52 an hour to carry it. That math sits in the back of your head and doesn't leave. Then comes the clean-out nobody wants. A hoarding job, ammonia thick enough to taste, cat urine soaked into the subfloor. Half the new hires quit after a job like that. You don't. You stop noticing the smell. You wear the back brace, you keep the appliance dolly moving, you fill the truck and empty it before noon, then do it again. The woman whose basement you cleared asks for you by name the next month. That's the first time the work points back at you instead of the company. You clock in, load the route, quote by truck volume, haul, dump, donate, invoice, and start over. The straps leave marks on your forearms that don't fade until the weekend. You've learned the body of the job. The next thing to learn is the business, and that's level 3. Level 3. The owner-operator. You stop working for the company and buy your own way in, a used dump trailer, a phone number, and a name on a magnet stuck to the door. Sal Polit-Moran did exactly that in Scranton, Pennsylvania, with a pickup, a dump trailer, and $300 on Craigslist. You answer the phone mid-job, balancing a dryer on the dolly with one hand. You learn to quote off-texted photos, because driving to every estimate burns a tank you can't spare. You run a few jobs a day, haul the load to the transfer station, and watch the scale. The dump charges a tipping fee of $62.28 per ton, every trip. That number is the whole game. You back the trailer to the edge, pull the lever, and the bed lifts with a hydraulic wind until the load slides out. The copper goes to the scrapyard instead of the landfill. The good finds go on Facebook Marketplace, and the rest you pay to bury. You keep a tarp, a reciprocating saw, and a hand truck in the bed, and you learn which gas station on the route is cheaper. You reconcile each day in Jobber, and some days it doesn't reconcile. 8 months in, you're clearing $2,500 a month. That's the number that ends most people. The phone goes quiet for a week. Fuel and dump fees swallow a slow month whole, and you sit in the cab running arithmetic that won't balance. This is the level where the dump trailer goes back on Craigslist and the experiment quietly ends. It's also the level where it doesn't. You stop quoting on the phone. You make them text photos. You sort harder. Every donation and every scrap pull shrinks the pile you pay to dump, and the load that broke even last month turns a profit this month. Then it's quiet again. Then the call comes, a week-long estate clean-out, a whole house, decades of a life to carry out one narrow door. You quote it by volume, you bring help, you fill the trailer, and empty it and fill it again, separating copper from steel, from resale, from trash. The check clears. The phone rings again, because the family told the neighbors and their garages need emptying too. Sal Polit-Moran's $300 start grew into a business, doing about $41,000 a month. Yours isn't there yet. But the math finally tilts the right way, and the lean weeks stop scaring you. The next thing you learn is how to run this without driving the truck yourself, and that's level 4. Level 4. The operator with a crew. You buy a second truck, then a third, and the business stops being your back and starts being your decisions. You dispatch 2 crews by zip code from your phone before the coffee's cold. You train the new hires to pack a truck the way you learned it. Flat low, heavy forward, nothing that shifts. A crew packs one wrong and a fridge tips on the highway ramp. You build a loading checklist and walk every new hire through it, and it doesn't happen again. You run light demolition now, a Bobcat skid steer tearing out a deck while the dump trailer waits. You manage the Google ads yourself, because every lead costs money, and the cheap leads are the whole margin. You negotiate a commercial rate with the landfill. EREF surveyed 351 landfills, and the gate price isn't a suggestion. It's the second biggest line on your books. Then, a truck crosses a scale. An inspector flags it. Over 26,001 pounds, you need a commercial license, and your driver doesn't have one. You eat the citation. You respec the fleet to sit under the threshold. You put the USDOT number on every door, and the next roadside check waves your crew through. Lee Godbold built junk doctors in North Carolina to about $2 million a year by his 5th year, running 10 trucks. You're smaller, but you're built the same way. You stop riding in the truck. The first full day the crews run every job without a call to you, the business proves it can exist without your hands on it. That's the whole point, and it's the hardest thing to let happen. The next level isn't more trucks. It's contracts that pay every month whether the phone rings or not, and that's level 5. Level 5. The regional operator. The money stops coming one couch at a time and starts coming one building at a time. You go after apartment complexes, where 10 to 15% of the units turn over every month, forever. That's not a job. That's a route. You run bigger trucks now, boxes that do in one trip what the old trailer did in 3. You build a call center, you deploy your own photo quote app, you dispatch crews across markets you've never driven yourself. Fred Tomlin and Sherrod Hunter did this in Tampa, Florida. They bought a truck for about $4,500 and grew it into a business doing about $1 million a month. They patented their own quoting app called JunkShot, filed in 2015 and awarded in 2019. The trick they understood. Bigger trucks mean better pricing, and a contract that renews beats a phone that might ring. You learn it the slow way. You cold call a property manager for months, and every time it's a voicemail or a polite no, you log it and try the next building on the list. Then you send before and after photos of one finished move-out. The unit empty, swept, ready to lease. And the next month, they sign. A unit turns over. Your crew is there the same day, and the manager hands you the whole portfolio. You stop quoting jobs one at a time. You quote buildings. The bell curve panic of residential work flattens into a number you can forecast. You document every job and keep the trucks clean enough that a property manager would put them on a flyer. The recurring revenue is the asset. The next level is the one where the company runs without you in the building at all, and that's level 6. Level 6. The owner who doesn't drive. You run branches now, in markets you couldn't find on a map without the dispatch board. Casey Walsh started raking lawns at 16 years old in Marietta, Georgia in 2005, and founded Stand Up Guys at 19. 2 decades on, it runs across 6 states, a fleet of light blue trucks, an independent company, no franchise, no royalties, grossing about $7 million a year. Every couch, every fridge, every garage. $7 million, built 1 truckload at a time. You install branch managers and crew leaders, and you standardize the pricing and the training so a job in one state looks like a job in another. A branch manager runs a market you've never visited, and the month's numbers come in clean. You open another. You reinvest in the fleet. You even name a truck, a dump truck. The crew calls the Dumpatron, because it triples what a day can move. You donate and recycle what used to go straight to the dump, and the tipping bill drops enough to pay for a new truck. Sam Schick ran a junk removal operation in Chicago doing over $10 million a year, 25 trucks deep. The ceiling is higher than you once thought the whole industry was. You stop counting the trucks. The business turns a profit on a week you spend nowhere near it. No calls, no fires, no truck of your own. That absence is the asset you were building the whole time. There's one more way to see all of it, and that's the final beat. The number at the top is $7 million a year, and it sounds like a deal you closed. It isn't. It's a couch, and another couch, and the fridge after that. Load after load, driveway after driveway, until the count stops meaning anything. Scale in this business is just repetition that didn't stop. Nobody plans to be here. You backed into it, one heavy thing at a time. The version of this that wins the algorithm is the franchise empire. Brian Scudamore built 1-800-GOT-JUNK into a company doing nearly $300 million a year. But you didn't sell the name or split the profit. You kept the whole thing, royalty-free, and the upside was yours. The dirtiest work, the hoarding cleanouts, the estate jobs nobody else would quote, turned out to be the highest margin per hour you ever billed. The transfer station still charges by the ton. The dump never got cheaper. You got better at not needing it. You learned that disposal is a sorting game. Donate, scrap, recycle, and the pile you pay to bury is the smallest it's ever been. The years cost you a knee that aches before the rain, and 100 Saturdays you'll never get back. You'd spend them the same way again. Somewhere across your 6 states, a 16-year-old is dragging a couch to the curb to save his neighbor about $150. Exactly the way you started, before any of this had a name. He doesn't know there's a ladder under his feet. You did the same thing once, for the same $150, with a borrowed truck and no plan. Now you send a crew to take the couch, and the kid watches the truck pull up. The name on the door is yours. The keys to it hang on a hook by your office door, and they're yours, free and clear.